أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Amen. With God's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. The praise belongs to God, the Lord of all systems of knowledge. The merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer, sole judge on the day of judgment. We worship you only and we turn to you, begging your assistance. Guide us on the straight way, the way of those on whom you bestowed blessings, not those who incur your wrath, not those who go astray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Brother Omar. I openly bear witness with the Lord's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. I openly bear witness that there is but one God, the one and only creator of the heavens and earth, the Lord of all systems of knowledge, whom we properly refer to as Allah. I accept all of Allah's prophets and believe that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is a mercy to mankind and the seal of prophethood. I believe that Allah is always present. Assalamu alaikum, dear family. Our speaker today is Zakia Sharif Givens, known to me as Madam President. She is a master licensed social worker. Her topic is one that we have not discussed on Study Al-Islam, mental illness. Welcome, Zakia.
Take it. Assalamu alaikum and good morning. I just want to thank you all for sharing space. You could have been anywhere else, but you're here, so we thank you. We are just going to have a conversation like we are sitting in each other's living room. I'm going to go through the presentation. If you have questions, you can put them in the chat. I'll try to address some of them as I'm going through, but we will have a Q&A at the end as well, and we will get started. Okay, so we're going to talk about mental health this morning, it as a crisis, the needs, and just overall mental health wellness, and what interventions we should do. But I want us to shift our mindset into looking at mental health as something that we have to nurture daily. So more solution focused and preventative rather than intervening and acting on something that's an immediate need. So in doing that, we're going to talk about our needs as youth and adults, what to do if someone is experiencing a mental health crisis, and just daily practices for overall physical and mental wellness. And I'll share a couple of resources as well. So a mental health crisis is an emergency situation in which a person's behavior puts them at risk of harming themselves or others. They can be severely disoriented or out of touch with reality. They can experience intense physical and emotional stress and display an inability to function effectively or care for themselves. I want us to look at mental health as a need and not a secondary thing, but as like a front need, or right now, or something that's essential, something that we have to nurture daily and incorporate into our life and our routines, because it doesn't always show up as outbursts or someone harming themselves or being out of control or harming others or any other types of acts of violence. In adults, some signs that someone may be experiencing a mental health crisis or just having issues with their mental health. They may have feelings of anxiety, and that can be mild or severe. They can have excessive worrying or just be really fearful all the time. They can feel angry or unhappy, and these are for extended periods of time. I put this there instead of just saying feeling depressed, because I hearing people say, oh, I'm depressed, or she's depressed, or they're depressed. But that's the diagnosis. That's the name for it. But we want to get more in touch with how people are actually feeling and get them to vocalize that, or just be aware of how someone's feeling and not just calling it depression and putting it in a box. They can experience feelings of guilt and worthlessness. They can have crying or just emotional outbursts, trouble sleeping, or just being restless. They can have thoughts of self-harm or suicide. In adults, you may see weight gain or a decrease in weight, or just changes in their appetite. So they could be eating more or eating less or eating not at all. If they're quiet or withdrawn, and that's more than usual. So not if that's their normal personality and they're normally quiet or they're normally withdrawn, then it may not be a cause for alarm. But if they're not usually that way, or they're more quiet or withdrawn than they usually are, then that's a sign that something might be wrong. And if they don't use substances like drugs, alcohol, things like that, but then they start, or if they were already using it and you see a drastic increase in it, then that's another sign that something may be wrong. Signs in children. If they're in school, you're going to see a drop in attendance or truancy issues. So they will miss school, or if they come to school, they may have to leave early. And in children, sometimes when they're having issues with mental health, it can manifest physically in their body, and they don't know how to explain it other than my stomach hurts, because their stomach may be hurting. Because sometimes when something's going on mentally, you will feel it in your gut. So you'll hear them say a lot, their stomach is hurting or they're not feeling good. And so you have to come pick them up from school, or they don't even want to go to school in the morning. So they're out of school. You'll see a decrease in their grades. It'll drop, or they just don't want to do any schoolwork. And that's really a sign if they're normally, very studious, or they used to love school and now they don't want to go anymore. So they'll have that lack of motivation. They'll also experience feelings of anxiety, and that can be mild or severe. So you want to watch it. Excessive worrying or fearful, just worrying about everything that's going on and always questioning, well, what if this happens, or what if that happens, or what if I don't do this, or what if they don't do that, or just really, expressing that they're scared of things, or, they don't want to go somewhere, or they don't want to be around anybody, or they're just always worried and scared. And instead of calling it depressed, because they may say, I'm just depressed, but really we want to look for if they're sad or unhappy or they're angry, and they're not usually like that. Feelings of worthlessness or giving up. They will say things like, I'm just not good enough, or, nobody likes me, or why am I here, or, I can't do this, or I don't want to do this. And they just don't have the urge to try anything or want to do the things that they used to do. They may even express, wanting to harm themselves, or may have already harmed themselves. So this could be cutting, this could be scratching, pulling their hair. You see that a lot. And they may say, I want to kill myself, or I don't want to be here anymore, or I should just die. So you want to listen to that and look for those things. They may cry, and if they're not usually a crier, but they just start crying all the time, or everything looks like it hurts their feelings, or they have these emotional outbursts out of nowhere, that's a sign. If they're normally a good sleeper, but now they just can't sleep at night, or they're restless, they can't even sit still, or they don't, even just rest their body, they're just moving around, or they usually move around and they don't. We want to look for that and pay attention to it. You'll see changes in their appetite. So they may eat more, but they may eat less or not at all. If they become quiet or withdrawn more than usual, or just start to do that and they didn't used to be quiet or withdrawn, that's a sign. And then also failure to follow directions and prompts. So if you're telling them to do things or asking them about stuff and they are just, not paying attention to you, or just look like they don't want to do it, that could be, they could verbalize it, or just physically not do what they're asked to do, or not do what they're prompted to do. So those are signs that something may be going on with their mental health, and we want to pay attention to that. So I know in the beginning I talked about it as mental health is being seen as a crisis, and we have to intervene, and there's all these actions, and I don't want us to focus on that. But if you or someone in your family or your community or around you is experiencing a mental health crisis, we'll touch on, what to do if that's going on. So if you see this, or they vocalize it, you want to provide a safe and brave space. So you want, because it takes a lot, especially nowadays, even though there's more awareness about mental health, there's still a stigma in some communities about having mental health issues, and people own that. So it takes a lot for them to come to somebody and say, I need help, or this is what's going on. So if you're the person they come to, then provide that safe space. And, you know, I like to call it a safe and brave space, because it's safe, but it's also, they had to be brave to do that. So acknowledge them and their feelings, listen to them, but we can't just listen. You're gonna have to talk. So if they are thinking about harming themselves or dying by suicide, because we don't say attempt to suicide anymore, so we decriminalize it, or take the judgment out of it. So you can say, you have to ask them, and if you're uncomfortable with asking this, please get somebody who can ask them. But we need to say, are you thinking about killing yourself, or are you thinking about harming yourself? If they're not thinking about it, by you asking them that, it's not gonna make them want to kill themselves. So you have to ask, because we need to know, and then that lets us know how we need to proceed with the next steps. So just, let them know that you're here to help and that you care for them, and help them give themselves grace, and give yourself grace for even being in that space with them. If the situation calls for it and they are actively thinking about harming themselves, then you will need to hide the medications, the weapons, cords, anything that they could complete the act with. Remove it, and ask people around you to help you, because it may be something you're not thinking about that they could harm themselves with. So let the people around you know what's going on, and refrain from being judgmental, because often in my work, and I'll use our Muslim community, I keep hearing that people are experiencing judgment when it comes to mental health, children and adults, that if they're thinking about harming themselves or suicide, or they're depressed, or having all these things going on that they don't really have control over, people are calling it haram, or saying that they're letting shaitan get to them. Parents are trying to beat the mental health crisis out of the children, or moms that are experiencing depression, husbands are beating on them, and it's like, it's shaitan, it's haram, and you can't think like that, you're going to hell. So we have got to stop doing that, and give more grace, and just give people this safe space to express their feelings and talk about it and get the support they need, because there's only but so many times people are going to come to you and try to talk about it or try to get help. And if they keep hitting a wall, there may not be another time that you get to help them. So some people can talk to somebody and work those feelings out, and they may not need professional help. Like, they just need to talk about how they're feeling, even talk about death and dying, because if someone says, I want to kill myself, or I can't do this, or I shouldn't be here, it's not always that they want to die. A lot of times it's just whatever they're experiencing at that moment, or whatever they're going through, they just want that thing to end. And instead of breaking it down step by step, or looking at it in smaller sections to see how they can handle it and get through it, they're just looking at this overall thing, and it's a weight on them, and they just want it to stop, and they don't know how to end it. So sometimes people can talk that out and do other things to get through that, but sometimes they can't. And so you do need to seek professional mental health services and resources for that person. So if that does happen and you do need to take that next step, never leave them alone. Always stay with them. And if you're not able to, then tag somebody else in, so that they can come, and be with that person through this. Because sometimes that's the problem too. People feel alone, or they feel by themselves, and they don't want that. So please stay with them. If you're calling a crisis line, or calling an emergency service, or a mobile crisis unit, you can call them with the person, because they may, you get them to agree, like, okay, I'm not going to do anything to myself today, I'm going to get some help. Don't take that. Stay with them, call with them, take them where they need to go, but make sure that they see that through and getting that professional help. So overall needs, and this is going to go for children and adults, because there's a lot of things that children need in this list, but what I see and what I'm sure many of you see is that there's a lot of adults that did not get these needs met as children. So as adults now, they're in unhealthy spaces and they're trying to figure it out or trying to supplement these things in other ways. So this is our total list for children and adults. Children need to thrive academically, emotionally, and become confident. So they need to feel small wins and accomplishments. They need to feel respected and important, children and adults. They need a safe environment, structure, and routine. And with safe environment, like it needs to be free of them seeing and hearing things and being in spaces that children shouldn't be in or that's unsafe. So if they're experiencing domestic violence or child abuse or strangers in and out of the house or just parents that aren't attentive to even physical safety things going on in the environment, is there clutter? Are there exposed wires? Is there sanitary issues? So all of that is a safe environment. They need structure, they need routine. They need to know, like, this is what happens when I get up in the morning, then this is what I do. And if this happens, someone is here, mom, dad, grandma, auntie. They need all of that in a support system. And that goes into their total environment, the structure, the routine. They need healthy foods, plenty of sleep, some form of physical activity, and fresh air. They need to experience healthy relationships. They need to see love. They need to see care. They need to see grace. They need to see that if this happens, someone has my back. Someone's got me. Or if mom's going through this, I notice that dad is always there. Or if this goes wrong, we can count on this person. So they need to see those things. They need to see healthy bonds and make healthy connections with not just their immediate family, but their community. They need to have a social group. They need to have friends and outlets and things like that. And they need to feel loved and supported. And they need to be given tools for resiliency, and that needs to be nurtured. Because the sad thing, although resiliency is a good thing, the sad or the downside about that is that you don't know you have it until you need it, because you've gone through something and you've bounced back or you figured it out or you've overcome it. So in children, we don't always want them to have to experience these things and then figure out how to deal with it. So we have to figure out a way to nurture resiliency so they have it, and then when it needs to show up, they got it. That's a tool in their backpack. And we need quiet time and just to be still. There's not enough time in the day where people are just sitting still, not talking, not on their phones, or not listening to something or having outside noise around them. So if you are not having times where you're sitting still and you're just quiet, you can't hear yourself. You can't hear God talking to you. You can't hear your intuition. So we have to incorporate more quiet and still time in our day, and we have to make that space for our children as well. We need to know how to bounce back from fails, challenges, and letdowns, or not having things, because what I'm seeing is because people have more access to what's not immediately going on with them, people know what they don't have, or they know how things could be, or what success looks like in different levels. So we need to figure out a way to deal with those challenges and to deal with fails and to deal with, okay, I don't have these things, to where it is not causing mental health issues, or it's not changing how we feel about ourselves and our families in a negative way. We need to keep hope, purpose, and have a sense of passion for things, because sadly, we should not have children without hope. They should not feel like things are just going to stay this way, things don't get better, or there's not an end to suffering, or that people don't change. Adults too, like people are losing hope. And so we have to keep hope. We have to figure out a way to tap into what our purpose is, and how to use that, and how to be useful and productive, and figure out what our passions are, and also how to turn those passions into things that give us success. So we need that as adults, but our children need to start that more earlier than not. And an important thing to remember is, just like adults, children need self-care. They need downtime. They need to socialize. They need hobbies. They need validation, and they need to know what risk and reward feels like. I can't stress that enough. I talk to kids daily, and it's sad because they can tell you all these things that mommy and daddy do, or auntie or grandma or whoever do. And then when you ask them what they're doing, it's nothing. They go to school and they come home, or they're going to school at home and they don't have friends. They don't go anywhere. They're not experiencing anything in life. And a lot of times they don't even have anybody to talk to. And they're not even talking to their parents or their other people in their family because everybody's busy, or everybody has something else to do, or people are just not holding someone's attention. So it's just sad, because you can see why we're having such an increase in mental health issues and crises with kids, because they literally have no one to talk to and they're doing nothing. So we've got to do better. So I want to touch on spiritual needs, because I think this is the part that that we forget about. And there's just things that our body need, our mind need to function, but also there's things that our soul needs to function. So we need to continue to build faith and continue to have a belief in ourselves and the support system around us, and a belief in a higher power and things that we can't see. And I know we have people of different faiths on the line today. So if that is belief in angels, jinns, ancestors, whatever it is, Allah, God, Jesus, whatever, the name you assign to that higher power, that unseen force, we have got to get back to believing in that, and taking that as part of our tools while we're on this journey. And we need to experience joy and happiness. We need to feel what it's like to be comfortable, to have protection, and to feel peace, and to remember that we're blessed and we're favored in so many ways. Allah shows us, and He tells us in nature, we can see it all around us, and we can read in the Quran that our body and our system need certain things to function properly. So our body's broken down into systems, and they're separate systems, and they function separately, but they work together to support our whole body, our body and our mind. They work together, all these systems. So if something is off in one system, it can throw something off in another system or another part of the body, and disrupt how that system functions. So that can lead to illness. It can lead to loss of limbs, poor circulation. You can have unhealthy bacteria in the body. You can lose mobility. And then mentally, it can decrease your memory. It can hurt your ability to problem solve. You can even have vision impairment. Even sometimes people have stress blindness. So because they're so stressed, or they're going through so much, it can affect their sight. You have trouble decision making. You can even hallucinate. So our soul is that non-physical system, and it needs to be nurtured. So we need to equip ourselves and our children with those tools that feed our soul, feed our spirit, and get us back to those basics. We have a foundation for that. Whatever religion you're in, there is a spiritual foundation. There is tools in that foundation to feed your soul. And we need to build on that. If you've lost it, it's okay. We can always get back to it. So maybe you're not making your 5 prayers a day, but start with maybe, I'm going to get up for Fajr this morning, or before I go to bed, I'll make sure I make Isha, or, whatever it is you do throughout the day to, acknowledge God and put that into practice. Allah gives us in the Quran and in our daily rituals these types of tools. So we just have to get back to that. Prayer, zakat, fasting, dhikr. Even in zakat, it's like a mercy, but also this immediate blessing for you, because it's like instant, and like an instant purpose. Like, even though you think that you may be doing bad, there's always somebody that may need a different type of help than you, and you can give them that. So maybe you're not doing that bad because you were able to help someone else. It's a reminder. Even if you don't have much, little things, a smile is the zakat. So you can give a smile. You always have something to give. So it's a blessing for the person that you're giving that to, but it's also a blessing for you. And fasting, is that our system gets rest during fasting. Our mind is clearer. So, even though people think your energy is down, sometimes fasting is the time when people have the most energy. So Allah knows what we need. And, I always say he's just dope and amazing. Like, for how long we have been on this journey and generations before us, like these things are still relevant and they're still useful to us, as we move forward in life. And we just have to hold on to those and get back to those. And we have these life examples of the prophets and in the different faith religions. There's prophets, or there's some kind of messenger, or their companions, their stories. So we have to, get back to those and think about them and apply them to our life now. And we have to share those with our children, because they experienced challenges, and they had triumphs, they had fails, they had wins, there was risk, there was reward. There's a lesson in all these things. And so we just have to get back to that and figure out how to apply them to our life today. And I'm going to send these slides up because I did put a little bit of information on it. I know some of you are calling in, so you can't see them. So I'll go over a little bit of it. But like I said, there's constant reminders that Allah is merciful, and that He wants us to have all these good things on our journey. He wants us to reach Jannah. And there's certain intentions and actions that we can do that we're blessed with 10 times over for all the small things, like I said. So just keeping that at the forefront is just knowledge that should just provide us with some ease and some peace and comfort. Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, and even his companions, they used to say certain du'as before doing things that would bring the angels near, or keep harm away, or as a protection, or increase their skills and their senses, or allow them to receive the right messages and just see clearly. So there's a mercy in that, and that's like clear evidence. Like if it was good enough for them to do, like why shouldn't we do it? So we have to remember we have these things, and we have to get back to that. Simple rituals like making wudu, or cleansing. Allah tells us, and we have this example in the Prophet, do this several times a day, because water is essential for the body, not just in drinking it, but just the presence of water on us and around us. So it aids us spiritually. It's a spiritual tool. So we may even need that. We need that physical action to wipe things off, or get these thoughts out of our head. Like that's why that's in practice, because not just physical, but mentally, water aids us. You may have experienced this, or you may even see someone do this. Like if they're stressed or they're anxious or worried, they may, get into a sink or something. They just put water on their face, or you'll see someone wet a towel and pat someone with it, or they'll say, "Oh, get her a glass of water." So water is essential, and we've got to remember that and get back to using it in practices. I mean, we have it. It's a part of what we should be doing, because it's naturally calming and it resets the body. And there's a saying in a couple different cultures and communities, like get to water. Like if you're sick, get to water. If you need to talk to God, get to water. If you're lost, get to water. If you're not sure, get to water. So get to water. I say get to water. And think about how you feel when you see water, or you even hear water. Like some people need ocean sounds to rest. So water is very important. And I just put a little side note on here about other things you can do to reset and to get back in a healthy mental space too. And these are things like daily you can do. Make sure you're getting plenty of fresh air. If you take walks, if you are unable to take a walk or jog or do anything physical outside, just sit outside. Animals. There's a lot of research about the benefits of incorporating animals into certain mental health issues, because animals do aid in mood changing and being, comforting, and just allowing somebody to practice like calming and trusting And because those are some things that cause mental health issues too, just not able to self-soothe and having trust issues in certain spaces and around people, and their social anxieties and stuff. So animals can aid in that. And I put a couple of resources up here. I know everyone is not in the same state, so you can call or text 988. It's a suicide and crisis lifeline, and they're available 24 hours. There's also a very good training, mental health first aid, that I think everyone could benefit from taking, and it's free. So you just have to find, a local agency that provides this training, and they also have one that's specific to children's mental health first aid. So that's a very good resource that you can take. Many cities and counties also have crisis lines or mobile crisis units. So if you just, Google for your local area, have that number or that information on standby just in case, and be able to provide it to other people that need it. If someone's experiencing a mental health crisis, you can also just seek out, or not a crisis, but if they just have mental health needs and need professional help, you can use your insurance and reach out to any provider that you want. There's also community service boards in many areas that offer free or reduced mental health resources, and a lot of agencies that have, support groups for that. And those are very beneficial. So those are some things that you can Google. And if you want help with those, if you tell me where you're at, I can send you those as well that are specific to your area. So there's my information. And if you are on a laptop, you can use the QR code with your phone, or just take a picture of the slide.
Thank you, Zakia. For those who have joined us today, if you have any questions, you can raise your hand or put it in the chat. Zakia, if you can take your screen down, I do have a question. Again, thank you for being with us. So Zakia, I once read a book that talks about the kind of thoughts you have are the kind of circumstances that you build for yourself. So if your mind is always on woe is me, even though we know that that is many of our circumstances, we don't have enough finances, that, that our families are broken, that they are not fathers in the home. We know this. We know, we keep hearing this again and again and again and again. So my approach is not to bring those things up when I'm talking to young people. And it's not because I'm oblivious to that, or I'm ignoring it. But it's because of what you just said, that I try to give them knowledge of what they're capable of, how God has created them innocent. And so I want to ask you, I know there's no right or wrong, but is that a healthy way when I am approaching young people to try to show them? Because when I listen to, let's say, activists in the community, all they want to talk about is, well, our kids, when, they don't have this and opportunity is not there. We know that. And they meet the police and they feel disrespected. We know that. But what are the tools that we are giving them in order to deal with their realities? Can you answer that? And then we're going to go to the questions that the hands raised.
Yes. And can you still hear and see me okay? It just popped up saying my connection was interrupted.
Yes, I can hear you.
No, I agree. I think that the way you're approaching it and the conversations you're having are very necessary, because we have to remain solution focused. Because like you said, we know what the problem is. We've identified that 10 times over. So now we need solution, we need action items. We need to be, like you said, reminded that yes, that happened, but this is what we can do moving forward, because it's all about changing our mindset and changing our youth's mindset. We need a shift. Even like an example of that is I look at poverty is sometimes because of people's situation and opportunities or lack thereof. But poverty can also be a mindset. So if I'm working with a family and I've already helped them with resources, financial resources, we're on month number 3 now. I'm like, okay, so I've helped you find utility assistance or food resources for this 3rd month. So now we need to look at what are we going to do moving forward so you can come out of this cycle, because I don't want to keep giving you a handout. I want to give you a hand up. So I look at your resume. This is some things you could be doing. This agency is hiring. Did you contact the person I sent to you last month? Well, no, because this is the parent. Well, no, because if I take that job, then I'll be making more money and then I won't qualify for my food stamps. Okay, but so now we got a problem, because do you want to come out of this cycle of needing a handout or not? Because yes, you're gonna make more and you might not be able to get food stamps, but when we look at the overall thing, you don't need this anymore. So it's just we have to start shifting our mindset. We know we don't have. We know what we're lacking. We know the systems that be, but how are we going to overcome that? That's by continuing to thrive, to continue to be successful in the ways that we can be successful in. Continue to be self-sufficient. And if we're not, start moving in that direction. Use our resources and our community, because we have, I mean, some amazing people in our communities. People just have got to start connecting and being that lifeline for each other. If you're doing well, don't keep it to yourself. I'm not saying give everybody money who needs it, but if there's an opportunity and you need a new employee, or you need you can give this person a revised business plan or whatever it is, we have got to start sharing.
Okay, we're gonna go to Michael. Take yourself off of mute and please just ask a question, because we only have 15 minutes. Please ask your question. Take yourselves off of mute. Michael?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Are there others that approach as you do, where the rubber meets the road in terms of our dean? You're one of the first that I'm impressed by in terms of taking the practical application, like I said, the rubber meets the road, to help us deal with these critical issues. Is there a group that you're a part of? Thank you.
No, no, alhamdulillah, thank you for saying that. No, I'm not a part of a group that is of that mindset, but I do run into people in my circles that are in that direction, are moving in that direction. And then also me and my father, Imam Sharif, have a lot of conversations around that. And just, because Islam it's our religion, it's our way of life, but it's it's a good tool, and we just have to get back to that, because it's what's, I mean, if you look at everything else we have into place, that's the thing that's missing for a lot of children and a lot of adults, because we're Muslim by name, but we're not Muslim by practice. And we have to get back to that, and then we'll start seeing a shift in some areas. And we didn't get this way overnight, so it's not going to change overnight. We have to just work on it, continuously.
Sister Bahija, could you take yourself off of mute and ask your question?
Yes, assalamu alaikum, Sister Zakia. My question is, first of all, thank you for the presentation. I have the mental health with my children, and a lot of the information that you gave me, some of it I was aware of. Me being down here in Georgia, they're behind than up north as far as with the mental health issues, especially after the pandemic. Being down to have mental health issues seems to be a problem where my children, the things that you was explaining and saying to do, I've been trying, but some of them, certain things, the way the environment is, it makes them hard to actually express their self when they have those problems. And then you have some of the adults that don't know how to speak to the children, so it makes it harder for them to be who they want to be, even though they know they have those trouble things. How do I give my child that more confident? And they're listening so that they can hear you, because they listen to the presentation.
Okay, let's see. So I do agree with what you're saying about the mental health and some adults and dealing with it, because there are people that are still they're working with children, but they're still very uncomfortable around the issues of mental health. So I always say, as mental health professionals or as people working with children, we have to continue to sharpen our skills, get the information, new information that's coming out. Even maybe go back to some of the old interventions that people aren't using anymore, but maybe they worked. So you have to get creative with the type of help you provide. And then the thing that you are doing with your children that are working, like, continue to do them. But with building confidence, keep teaching them to advocate for themselves. If this person doesn't listen, go to the next person. Keep consider a trusted adult and go to and talk to. But also give them opportunities that build confidence. If they show any interest in sports or certain hobbies or different activities, like, make those available to them. And if it's something that you can't get, find somebody who can, because there are a lot of organizations out here. There's a lot of people in a community with certain skills. We just have to, like, if you know this brother plays basketball on Saturdays and he's just out there, take your kids out there to play basketball with this brother on Saturdays. He may not be charging anything. He might, I don't know, but you gotta just be vocal about what you need. And a lot of times you take that step and everything else will fall into place. They might be like, oh, I do that. Or I can help your child with this. So we just need to do that.
Okay, we have about 4 more minutes. Muhammad, please ask your question for Sister Zakia.
Yes, assalamu alaikum, sister. That was a wonderful presentation. I feel like I'm back, work. I do belong to do work out of an agency as a child protective specialist, so I deal a lot with families, but the children are the most important people. They are our clients. And one of the things that, and you said it in your presentation in finding tools, the tools that I emphasize with the clients that I come in contact with is strength-based approach. Look for the strengths within the family, the strength was, because they just like you said, they also say, well, I can't do this and I can't do that. Well, tell me, what can you do, and what are some of the strengths that have used in the family dynamic that have gotten you from point A to point B, even before you came to the agency? There's a lot of things that I even use.
I need you to ask your question, please.
Oh, well, the question was, I just wanted to acknowledge that, you know, what you're saying is relevant, is clear, and thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
And Muhammad, you should be getting with Zakia because you are in a world where mental illness is prevalent, and Sister Zakia is available by email, and you guys should connect and work together. And so you can be a resource for one another. You're from New York, she's from Atlanta, and you guys can be a resource for one another. Muhammad, no disrespect, I didn't want to cut you off, but I did want you to ask a question. I did want you to ask.
I've met Zakia before. I've met her before at Time to Be Grateful. I think that was you I spoke to.
Yep.
Yeah. And you was at the convention in Secaucus, New Jersey.
Many years ago, yes.
Inshallah, we'll see you all in Newark coming this December. Sister Aziza, please ask your question. Take yourself off of mute and ask your question. Okay, while she's trying to, she's trying to figure out her question, or taking herself off of mute, because she hasn't taken herself off of mute. Do we have?
Am I off?
Oh yes, we hear you. Go ahead, ask your question, please.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much. My question is for young adults that have everything that you just talked about. How? I tried everything. How do you get them to go seek help? They were in help and medication had worked. But now that they're older, it's not that old, 23, it's so hard to even have a conversation to get them to go back. How do I do that? Because they're really off the hook.
Okay, good question. If it's not taking anything away from you or harming you, then you just keep at it. Keep trying to get them to get help. If they won't go get the help, bring the help to them. There's a lot of providers that offer telemed services, so they can be virtual. If there's someone in your community that doesn't mind doing home visits or agencies that come to the home, then you want to seek those out. But yeah, if they won't go get the help, then bring it to them. And I know people say, like, don't give up, but that's why I say, if it's not taking anything away from you or harming you, then keep at it. But if it's, something, if getting them help is harming you or causing you mental health, then you may have to step back, and that person is just going to have to, walk that journey alone. But yeah, bring the help to them.
Do we have any? Amatala, please take yourself off of mute and ask your question.
Thank you, Sister Zakia, for your presentation. There's two parts to this question in a way. When we see so many African Americans, especially, and other communities, when there is a mental health crisis and the family will call 911, that the response from the police very often aggravates the situation or someone ends up dead. So now, as the maybe as a family member, you're reluctant to call for help because of, these cases that we see. Do you have any advice on if it's not 911, the resource that you can call that will alert police or whoever that this is a mental health crisis, send trained people in this area? Can you give us some advice on how to handle those kind of situations?
Wait, I must say before you answer that, you will be speaking directly to me on that question that Sister Amatula just asked you, because when that brother was stealing my bike, I did not call the police for fear that they would kill him. But I was very upset with him. So yes, that question that Amatula is asking, I know we are faced with that in our community. How do we deal with this criminal mentality, knowing that the police will kill them?
So that's a very valid concern and good question, because that's a very real fear that we have sometimes. Even when we're being victimized, we still have care for the other person's life. So kudos to us for still having that part of care for humanity in us. But if you are faced with that situation, and what you should do if it's about a criminal act is taking place, definitely if you call 911, let them know, like, I think this person has mental health issues. If your department has someone, because many departments are moving towards that, so they do have agencies that they work with that can handle those mental health crises, and they'll dispatch them with an officer. If there isn't a criminal act happening, then you do want to call a mobile crisis line, because then those trained professionals are not law enforcement, so they will know how to handle that situation.
Thank you.
Najma, we have time for one more question. Najma, please ask your question.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum, Sisters Ikea. Thank you for your presentation. When we were coming up, we had family dinners and family breakfasts together at the dinner table at home. How often do these come up? When you say grace and you share experiences going on throughout the day, how often does that come up as a remedy for mental health issues? Because I think it's very important, the family gatherings, family dinners. Assalamu alaikum.
I thank you for sharing that and giving us that as a reminder, because that is something where a simple family dinner actually incorporates a lot of the needs that we as adults and children have, because you're giving that child attention, you're sharing space, you're asking them about their day, you're processing feelings, and you sometimes you can even come up with solutions to things at the table if someone's facing a problem. And it's time, if you're eating, you're quiet, you're still. So yes, definitely we need to get back to family dinners.
So, Zakia, we want you to come back, and there's a lot of ongoing conversation that's needed on mental illness, because one of the questions that constantly comes up at meetings that I attend and I hear from, and I hear from other activists where we differ on approach, and that is this idea of providing our young people with the tools of survival when it comes to this whole question of historical oppression, disrespect from the police, what their position should be. They don't care about dying. They're and that to me is a way to send your child out to die with that attitude that they can. This whole mental illness is something. So we're going to look forward to you coming back and being and targeting our audience to maybe perhaps deal with the parents with specific problems that we're dealing with, our general community problems, and even maybe to talk with our young people in the future. We really need this, and I know that from the comments that I'm getting in the chat. So inshallah. So the last, please, do you have any closing words for us before we move to close the program?
No, I know we're short on time, so I'll just remain hopeful, prayerful, and I want us to stop thinking things aren't our business. Like, just because it's not our family, if it's in our community, it's our business. So if you know there's child abuse, domestic violence, or someone suffering from mental illness, it's our business. If we don't want police to intervene, or Department of Children's Services, or Child Protective Services, it's our business, and we have to get involved and help care for the people around us, and just remember to give each other grace and have patience. Because it's going to take time for us to get up out of this, and we're going to need all the tools, resources, and people.
Thank you so much. Again, your presentation has been so helpful to many that are listening on the line right now. So as we close, I do want to just briefly address the issue of Palestine. I want to remind us that the believing Muslim seeks guidance in the Quran, and as exemplified by Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. In the Study Al-Islam newsletter, there are 3 videos. One with Imam Muhammad, may he be in the highest place in paradise, when he visited at the invitation of Arafat. May he be forgiven his sins and be in the highest place in paradise, who was the chairman of the Palestine Liberation Organization, PLO. I believe this video is about 27 years old, could be older, but the life for our Muslim brothers and sisters in Palestine is horrific by all human standards. And the Jewish people, and overall, and for the Jewish people, and overall for people in general in that part of the world. There is also an interview that I thought was very credible by CNN correspondent Fareed Zachary, and a historical video on how this all began. So there's 3 videos in the newsletter that will give you some background information, certainly not all, because this is also, before I say that, there are many statements that have been released by our imams in the community and podcasts discussing this from a religious perspective. So there's lots of good information coming out of our community along with these videos that I have placed in the newsletter that came out yesterday. With that said, I know that emotions are running high, but be careful of what you say. Words make people, and they can be harmful and can cause more divide, which we don't need. Let us not be a tool for the propaganda, a tool of Satan, or a tool of ignorance. So I have taken time to educate myself. Actually, yesterday, I attended the rally for the Palestinian people here in DC. I've consulted with those who are educated on this problem. But I do have a perspective now and a position, which is reflected in my writing in a statement that I will release today via email. But I am always, and we should always be in remembrance that Allah is the best knower. He is the judge, and his decree is in motion. I'm grateful to be planning our New Year's Eve annual prayer, inshallah. And I know that, it's just October, but the time is upon us and we need this so badly. And I'm hoping that we will spread the news and invite our family and friends to our annual New Year's Eve prayer that is for all people of faith. With that, we will close with a short dua from Imam Sharif for justice and peace. And then Brother Omar will close the program in prayer. Brother Imam Sharif, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am, I'm ready.
Please.
Inshallah. We seek refuge of Allah from Satan, the rejected enemy. We pray to Allah grant us and grant the world the blessings of peace, security, and justice. Make this one people who will not make fun, laugh at others, be condescending toward others. Let us be among that group, biting on what is good and joining what is right, and forbidding what is wrong. Being the best brought out for the good of all people. Truly, you know what we conceal, and you know what we reveal. For nothing whatever is in the heavens is hidden from Allah, whether on earth or beyond the heavens. O Allah, make us to be of those who establish regular prayer, and also raise such among our offspring. O Lord, accept our prayer. O Lord, cover us with your forgiveness, our parents, believers, and all on the day that the reckoning will be taken. O Lord, bless us to stand out firmly as witnesses to fair dealing, and let not the hatred of others towards us make us swerve to wrong and depart from justice. Bless us to be just, that is next to piety, and bless us to fear you only, for you are well acquainted with all things. Bless us to understand that lasting peace can only come with true justice. Bless this continued effort to annihilate a people geographically and physically, bring it to an end. We know that whatever difficulty comes relief, and bless us as Muslims to stand firm, recognizing that you are always near. Amen.
Ameen. Thank you, Imam Sharif. Brother Omar, if you can close the program in prayer, please.
Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhaban nar. O Lord, give us the excellence of this world and the excellence of the next world, and save us from the torment of hell's fire. Amen.
Amen. Until next week, just so you know that next week we will have Brother Hassan from Washington, D.C., and Brother Sabir from Newark. And they will be discussing with us the great comeback of the steak and take and the fish sandwich. Both of them are running very successful businesses, and they're going to share that with us. And we are excited about that, to have those two brothers to join us. So until next week, may Allah bless us, protect us, and keep us on the straight path. Assalamu alaikum.